Ohio State and Western Michigan are set for a heavyweight tilt inside the Horseshoe in prime time on Saturday night. Tim May, the 41-year vet's gearing up for it. So is Andy Basham and me, Spencer Holbrook. Let's talk about it, fellas. Ohio State, Western Michigan. Ryan Day just talked to us, a few different players. Heavy special teams night. Yeah,
it's about time we get to talk to the special teams guys.
What'd you learn, Tim?
Well, number one, I learned that I'll just give the number one thing, right? We just do one thing.
Yeah, please.
I just learned that Joey McGuire, his last week before the season started must have been a tremendous roller coaster because when Ryan Day spoke to us, he expected it looked like Nick McLarty had taken the lead for the punting job, and that's what we were all talking about, writing about, tweeting about, etc. And then boom, the game comes along, McGuire goes running in there.
Yeah.
Now they're both from Australia, which maybe there was a mix-up, except Joe McGuire's about this tall. He's about this tall, and Nick McClary's about this tall. So
yeah.
There couldn't have been that kind of mix-up. You know how you call, if you have two kids, you keep calling the other's name? But the bottom line is, I thought he acquitted himself quite well in his opener. And you asked him a really interesting question, so I'll let you follow up with that. But anybody knows me knows how much I like Australians. Will Power is probably my favorite IndyCar driver other than Graham Rahal, who I've, for obvious reasons, I've known him since he was 0. And they all like auto racing down there, no matter what sport they play. And then number two, this is a guy that, 30 years ago, this pathway wasn't there really. 25 years ago. And now, due to Pro Kick in Australia and everywhere, in Australia, they have kickers all over college football and in the National Football League. So it's really amazing. He's yet another example. He and Nick McClarty are examples of this strange trend, it seemed many years ago, is just basically where you go to get a punter.
The ratings bonanza we're going to get from just straight punter talk on this video. Go ahead, Andy. What'd you learn?
Brandon Innes is also taking a role on special teams and embracing it as the punt returner. We've talked a lot the last week about the effort he had against Akron, 60 total yards. Felt like he could have busted one open in the week 1, but he's certainly trying to end that drought of no punt return touchdowns for this program. It's been years. He wants to end that, and he's embracing that role. As a year 2 wide receiver, as a highly touted prospect coming to Ohio State, I think you're always ready for that breakout. Carnell Tate's starting to break out already, but Brandon Innes might have a little bit more to wait at the wide receiver position, but it seems like he's fully focused on contributing in any way he can, and right now the biggest way it feels like is punt return, and he's definitely going to play a lot of wide receiver this year. But man, he's really embracing that role on special teams as well.
Yeah, Tim would say he's champing at the bit to get in the end zone on special teams. Absolutely. Really interesting to talk to him just because of, like you said, probably wanted to have a bigger role this year. If Emeka Buka moves on, he's probably a starter. Instead, Emeka's back, and so Brandon Innes now embracing that punt return role. He was pretty angry that he didn't get in the end zone last week. He wanted to do it in week 1. Ohio State coach Ryan Day guaranteed he would do it at some point this year, or they would get a kick or a punt return. That's how much emphasis they're putting on special teams. But that's not what I really learned tonight. I talked to JT Tuimoloau, kind of felt like an idiot with the question I asked him. I said, JT, have you ever had an easier sack than that? And he said, that was not easy. It looked easy on TV, but he said it wasn't easy. It was a bad pass protection rep by the left tackle. JT made him look silly, threw his hands to the side, got to the quarterback for an easy sack. But he said, again, it wasn't that easy. I asked him about Jack Sawyer and the pass rush and beating up the quarterback. He kind of was kind of glowing up when he was talking about beating up the quarterback and being able to get some hits on the quarterback. And I think that's going to continue whether teams get the ball out quick or not. They want to hit the quarterback, and they want to make sure that their presence on that defensive line is felt. And they're doing a really good job of that already.
I have trouble anticipating when you're going to be done. I was really geared up there. I thought Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer were extremely energetic in that opening game.
Yeah.
And you're still playing your responsibilities. And when a team's getting the ball and then getting it out is basically as quickly, with the exception of a couple of plays, as Akron was, no matter which quarterback was in there, it made it interesting because when Bullock was in there, you also had to definitely guard against the run,
Yeah.
and possible option, you might be the guy that he's reading and stuff. So right on down the line, I thought they played with high energy. The guy who stuck out to me from that defensive line was Tyleik Williams. I just thought he created the havoc I expect him to do all year. We'll see as the competition ramps up how everything holds. But I thought the front four played as advertised. And back to Brandon Innes, what I like about him, it reminds me of good punt returns I've seen in the past. not the least of which was Jalen Marshall, the last Buckeye, I think, to take one back to the house.
On punt, yes.
On punt.
Yeah.
That's what I said, punt return. You've got to have a combination of audacity and moxie, along with obvious talent and stuff. And I think Ennis has got it because, man, his eyes light up when he talks about punt returns. And it's really interesting that Ryan Day was out there pretty bold before the season started about possibly getting one because, now he's more involved with special teams than ever before. So, of course, he's talking up his guys.
You are noted Lettermen Row special teams guru, Andy Backstrom. It just feels different right now. And, I know that everybody has feelings about Parker Fleming and the special teams from a year ago. I do think they worked hard last year on special teams. It just, whether it was a fit, whether it was the message not getting across, whether it was the fact that there was a special teams coordinator instead of position coaches doing it, this feels a lot different. And they're not only emphasizing it, but they're championing it. They want to be it almost feels like they want to be like Frank Beamer, Virginia Tech. Special teams are our identity. They want this badly. Ryan Day has taken hold of this. Ohio State's position coaches have all decided that they're going to really buy in to this special team stuff. And you wonder, in one hand, why the hell they weren't doing it before, because they could have had good special teams. But on the other hand, you're like, man, they get this special teams figured out and they're as good as they were, in punt return against Akron, or if they improve and don't take any penalties in the punt return, or if they can kick return better, you're talking about all three phases of this team being pretty dominant, Andy. And I think it's because of the effort they're putting in program-wide on special teams, which I wrote about on LettermenRow.com today. But special teams. You like to talk about special teams. How do you feel about this?
Well, special teams can win you games, big games, matchup games, as they call it in this program.
Yeah.
Playoff games. It can also lose you those games too. And this program knows that as well. So yes, it's a huge emphasis, and there's an added incentive to be good at it for all these players because they have position coaches working with them all the time. You want to impress your tight ends coach and Keenan Bailey? Well, show up on special teams. You want to impress your safeties coach and Matt Guerrieri? Well, show up on special teams. Oh, by the way, the head man, Ryan Day, is pretty involved there too. And I think that has something to do with making that switch that, Tim talked about with Nick Blacardi going to Joe McGuire. That's probably partly influenced by the fact that Ryan Day is so involved with special teams. He can make that call because he has the intuition, but also because he has the experience with those guys. He's been spending time with them. Yeah. He knows the pulse of that room right now.
Yeah, not only are Buckeye fans, but this football team is, slightly haunted by the end of that game against Georgia.
Still.
That was not a chip shot field goal by any stretch, but you understand what I'm saying. So, yeah, special teams, they bite you just when you think they won't. Just when you think you got all the bases covered, you can give up a big play or you can make a big play in special teams, which fixes a lot of things or really kills a lot of things. So, yeah, they want to be – I think the best way of putting it with Ryan Day this year is I think it's obvious he's become a much more omnipotent or omniscient and omnipresent head coach now that he's not the offensive coordinator ipso facto play caller for sure. And it has allowed him to put the emphasis everywhere, which he wants us to be a complete football team in November and December and January.
Yeah.
And that includes special teams. And I think it's, from my vantage point looking at it, it's a great shift, for want of another term. Have a lot of people responsible, not just a scapegoat. Mm-hmm. And that's what they've done.
They certainly have. They are full steam ahead with special teams. We are full steam ahead with special teams talk. You don't get a lot of special teams talk around a program this talented everywhere across the roster, but Ohio State is really, really emphasizing it. So Lettermen Row is going to emphasize it tonight with the 41-year vet Tim May, with Andy Backstrom, me, Spencer Holbrook. We're going to get out of here. We're going to get to writing stuff over at LettermenRow.com.
We're going to talk about Sonny Styles real quick.
Go ahead, Tim.
About getting to play the Mike linebacker. I really hadn't had a lot of on-field reps, but took a lot of mental reps. I thought he acquitted himself quite nicely on Saturday, especially with now suddenly Jim Knowles barking in his ear, which it might be kind of hard to hear Jim Knowles. You know what I'm saying? He is a low talker, kind of like yourself. But I thought we got to talk to Sonny Styles, and he was almost like, meh, they told me to go play Mike linebacker, so I played it. I mean, it wasn't that casual, but it was pretty much like that because they've been cross-training to a certain extent. But I thought he acquitted himself quite well in his first start, not only at linebacker, but Mike linebacker.
And then Gabe Powers, we also got to talk to him. He's the linebacker who scored in that game, a Marysville native. He said he had 6 immediate family members in attendance. He said that was a special moment. You know, growing up as a Buckeyes fan, he had dreamed of scoring a touchdown for Ohio State. Of course, he had carried the ball in high school, as most of these guys did on offense. So once he got the ball in his hands, there's no one that was going to be taking him down before the end zone.
And they had a watch party at Ridge Golf and Gardens, you know, where he, where I think he made his announcement when he was committing to Ohio State, or where he signed. And I think they went crazy there when all of a sudden their favorite son is running toward the end zone with a huge smile on his face. That's crazy.
They almost went as crazy.
Thank goodness for the Jumbotron.
They went as crazy at the Ridge as that time you shot 89 there. Tim finally broke 90.
No, buddy, I've come so close to breaking 80 there a couple times this year. Tomorrow might be the day. Then again, it might be Rolling Meadows. Who knows?
Wow. Well, that's Tim's golf update. I hope your game is treating you well, Tim.
A lot better than just breaking 90.
I know. That was the insult I was hoping to prod in there at the last second.
Nobody who plays golf with me is watching.
Tim May, the 41-year vet, Andy Backstrom, he's going to get to the golf course. He's going to get over to LettermenRow.com with myself. Maybe Tim will be over there at LettermenRow.com. He's providing a lot of content for us, working hard despite the semi-retirement, we call that? Lettermen Row full-time?
I don't know what you call it. I just feel like I'm here every day.
Absolutely. Well, he's the hardest working man in the business. Andy Backstrom, he's right up there too. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys on Thursday night, Andy and I's live stream. We'll see you guys over on Friday for bold predictions, and we'll see you over in the Horseshoe on Saturday for Ohio State and Western Michigan.